everyone. Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shelly, and today I am going to be updating you on the reads I have finished recently. So currently right now I am doing a 30 books in 30 days challenge, and that has gone really well so far, or that is going. We're currently in it, so it is going really well. Today is September 23rd, and I have just finished my 24th book this month. And so I've been trying to organize my updates about what I'm reading into categories. And so I had the lads, so the books I read by men, at least in the first 12 days. And then I had the lasses, which was a video all about the books I read by women, but the women that I had read within my comfort zone, at least up until that point. And then today I'm going to be telling you all the books that have been wildly outside of my comfort zone, and I'll tell you why they've been why they are outside my comfort zone, and how the read went for me. Okay, that was quite the doozy of an opening. I am already stumbling over my words. But yeah, so let's just get started. The first book is a graphic novel. Now, graphic novels are books that I tend to read. They're in regular rotation as part of my reading diet. But this is a horror graphic novel. Now, I'm not a horror girly. I don't like scary things. I don't like scary movies. I don't like scary TV shows. I don't like the feeling of being scared. And so I tend to avoid all things horror. So what happened is that I read I didn't know that this was a horror graphic novel, and so I read the first short story at night, and it scared me, and so I was like, let me finish this in the morning, and then it worked out better reading it in the daytime, and that is Through the Woods by Emily Carroll. Carroll is a Canadian writer and illustrator, and she put together this collection of short stories that very much reads like scary stories. I forget the author's name, but I'll kind of maybe flash it up here. And in that, you know, they're truly there to kind of scare you. They're there to give you a fright, and not in like a cutesy way. They're scary. So the first several stories, they are scary and they are disturbing in the way that they're supposed to be. But the last story, I kind of got in a rhythm with her writing, and I almost found the horror element of it like comical, which is a good place to be. Now, I don't know, this is a hard book to recommend because I love the art. I thought the art was gorgeous and really just, stunning to look at, which is what drew me to the book in the first place. But I still don't like horror books, scary books. They bother me, and so I don't know, like, I liked it. I thought the art was great. And if you are into scary stories, I think this is gonna be quite a fun read for you. But I don't know if I would recommend it to those outside, like, readers who are not typically reading horror. So yeah, unless you're just reading it in the daytime and you know what this is and you want to give it a shot, then I would give it a shot. But yeah, I don't know, but kind of mixed on this. The next book is a literary crime noir book. I don't read crime books because, as I mentioned, I'm a scaredy cat, and I don't tend to go into the noir type genre, that style. It's just not one that I've gotten along with or really even explored very much. Now, the literariness, that's me. And so I read Motherless Brooklyn by Jonathan Lethem. Is that right? Jonathan Lethem. Anyways, this story starts off with a bang. Someone is murdered. The person that is murdered is close to our main character, who we are following, Lionel, is somebody who has Tourette's. And so Lionel is not a detective, but decides to take on this detective role to figure out what happened to his friend. And along the way, you get his story and his gang, like the people he hangs out with, and it's quirky, and it's definitely got that sort of whodunit feeling. Ooh, I don't know where I was at. So there's definitely like a whodunit element to this story. However, so I read this as part of the Up to No Good book club, and I'm definitely going to not share too much about the book because I want to share my thoughts with the book club. I'll leave the book club, the folks in the book club, linked down below in case they do their own reviews of this book and you want to hear other opinions than just mine. So what I liked about this book was the fact that our main character has Tourette's. And so as our main character has these bursts of language, the language tended to be quite playful. I mean, there's of course curse words and all of that, but the language itself gave the whole story a lightness to it and a playfulness to it. And that's where I felt like the author's literariness really kind of showed, because it would just be like in the middle of sort of a more serious scene, our character Lionel will just be like, la, 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 and all of these words fly out, but they're not random. They're like, they have a playfulness to them. And clearly I felt like Lethem, I don't know why I keep on wanting to call him Lethem, but it's not, so Lethem. So it was just a way for the author to be very, I don't know, playful and light. Ultimately though, I am realizing that I don't love books that have murder in them, which is interesting because my next book also has murder in it. So I'm gonna stop here. I want to see the movie because I heard that Ed Norton stars in it, and I love Ed Norton, and I feel like he could play a character with Tourette's and that sort of angsty type personality, which is definitely Lionel's personality, really, really well. So I want to see the movie now. Okay, another murder mystery, more of a true murder mystery, but literary in its own way. Anyways, Troublesome Love by Elena Ferrante. This is my second Elena Ferrante book that I finished. I am currently reading The Story of a New Name, which I paused to do my 30 and 30, but now I'm just like itching to get back to her into this world that she was creating. But anyways, so this book opens with the death of Delia's mother, and the story is about Delia trying to figure out what happened to her mother, and it's dark, y'all. So as she is trying to piece together her mother's life and a better understanding of what happened and perhaps who murdered her mom, it takes some really kind of strange and twisted turns. It's almost like it's really hard to summarize without spoiling anything. But what I liked about this is that there are a handful of characters that, I mean, it's a slim little novel, but Ferrante doesn't go over the top with all the characters. It's very like tight in that she cycles around the same characters over and over again, and so every character is very integral to the plot. There is a lot about femininity and motherhood and being a woman in Italian society, and the way that women are treated, and the way that they move through the world. There was a lot of that going on. There's also a good bit about strained mother-daughter relationships, which was really interesting. And when I finished this, it was quite brutal. It was very brutal, and not necessarily the kind of read that I gravitate towards. But when I finished this very much reminded me of The Bread the Devil Need by Lisa Allen-Agostini, but maybe with slightly less of an endearing main character. I didn't find Delia nearly as endearing as the main character of The Bread the Devil Need. But I would say that if you liked The Bread the Devil Need, then you would probably like this book because it has very much that darkness, that uncovering of someone, and that as you are discovering more and more about the character of Delia's mother, and Delia herself, it's like wickedly dark, at least for me. So yeah, my poor heart really couldn't handle this, and after that I had to read Heartstopper by Alice Oseman because it was just a lot for me. Oh, I should say that I read Elena Ferrante's book with my friend Fraser at Fraser Simon Springboard Thought, and it was really nice to talk with him about his thoughts. And he has a much deeper relationship with Ferrante. He's read more Ferrante than I have, and I got to say, are all of Ferrante's books this dark? And he gladly and enthusiastically said no. Okay, so after that, So this month I have been sick. I had a sinus infection, or I don't know, but I've been sick and not feeling my best. And so sometimes I get in my head that I want to read a very specific book, and the book that, or a specific kind of read. So what I wanted was like a cozy fantasy read, or like a very fantastical, out of this world kind of read. And so I did pick up Sarah J. Maas's A Court of Thorn and Roses. It took me a second. And I read the first chapter and I DNF'd. I did not finish. I vehemently did not finish that with enthusiasm. I was just like, this is not for me, at least in this moment. I couldn't even. So then I decided to pick up, and that's actually quite a thick book, so I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking, I'll get swept away by Sarah J. Maas's writing, and I'll finish it in just a day. And of course, this is like sick mind Shelley thinking, like me being under the weather and actually ill. This is like the magical thinking that was going on in my brain. So instead, I picked up Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan Mcguire. And this was interesting. So essentially there is a thing that happens to children in Seanan Mcguire's world in which they almost like fall through the looking glass like Alice, or go down the rabbit trail, and each child goes through this like doorway essentially and has this magical experience, and then end up or find their way back to the real world. So this is set at a school, and the school is there to help the children process and understand this experience that they went through. So all of the children are like little Alices, and trying to grapple with and make sense of the experience that they just had. So on the surface, I was like, this is definitely the book for me. Magical worlds, children, a school for children, working through their issues, like I'm here for it. And then like 70 pages in, there's a murder. I did not see that coming. And it's like a murder of a kid. Yeah, I just had qualms with it, and it wasn't just like, oh, somebody was murdered. It was like a very brutal murder of a kid, and then more kids end up dying, and then it ends up turning into a murder mystery, and I just didn't get it. Like, I just didn't understand the point of this novel. It was like, so you created a world that you don't even really explore very much, and then you turn it into like a murder mystery, of which I figured out the end before the ending was even revealed. Like I figured out who done it before we got to the end, so it wasn't even that good of a murder mystery. And yeah, I just didn't like it. A very slim novel. Yeah, I don't know. If you have read Seanan Mcguire and there are books that work, for you, can you let me know? I was just very confused. This was like a very confusing read for me. So this is outside my comfort zone because I don't tend to read like high fantasy. This is high fantasy, so I don't read like high fantasy or fantasy books. I'll read magical realistic books, especially if they're literary, because I'm a snob like that. But yeah, I don't really read high fantasy books, and that's what this was. I don't even know if it was high fantasy now. You know what? I'm gonna stop dwelling on this. Let me know if you've read Seanan Mcguire, or give me your fantasy recommendations down below, because I am a newbie to the genre. Okay, my final book is another graphic novel, and one that I really quite liked. The reason why it kind of falls outside of my comfort zone is because I've actually gotten it from the library before, and I flipped through it and decided that I didn't want to read it. And I don't know why, but then this time I got the book again, and I read it, and I really enjoyed it. And that is As the Crow Flies by Melanie Gillman. So this tells the story of a young lady going on a hiking trip, and she is the only queer black girl on the trip. And as she's taking this hike, this like girls adventure weekend away kind of deal, or week away I think it was kind of deal, she notices like some of the problematic language that's being used to get the young ladies to buy into this trip. And she is also trying to grapple with her own feelings of being an outsider. And at the heart of it, it's the story of friendship. And I just thought this was very sweet. It got me thinking about my own experiences like hers. in which I spent a week away on a camp, campgrounds, or a girls' camping trip out, or oh, apologies for the interruption. But anyways, I was just really, it got me thinking about just my experiences that were similar to hers, and how my experiences, those experiences were really crafted to make me feel comfortable, but perhaps it was really interesting to step in the shoes of somebody who is not me and who has different experiences, and who maybe would have felt left out by the language being used or the rituals being performed that are there to really help you bond. But in those experiences, how sometimes they can do the opposite of that and make someone feel like an outsider. So the art in this was gorgeous. I thought it was a quick read. It was a lovely read, and I'm really glad that I picked it up. So these are all of my recent reads as of late. Many, all of these were definitely outside of my comfort zone. So yeah, let me know what you've been reading lately. When you do step outside your comfort zone, what do you tend to pick up? That would be really kind of interesting for me to hear from you all. But yeah, anyhow, I'm gonna go. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye, guys.